Hey, how's everybody doing, man? It is Wednesday, but I have a pretty packed Thursday and Friday. It's one of those items where life isn't moving fast, so let's take a break when we want to take a break. Wednesday is a nice day to do these things. By the way, enjoy my Italian iced strawberry. The lemonade one's better, the lemon one. But you gotta do what you gotta do when you got the time to do what you need to do. Let me know how this microphone is. By the way, April needed a new headset, so I gave her my my hand-me-downs. So April gets upset with me because I say she got a new headset, but in reality, what ends up happening is I didn't really need a new headset, but she needed a headset. So the way that sort of plays out when you make the money and then the other person's working on their career but not yet bringing any money in is it's like, oh, I guess I need a new headset and you can have my old one. She doesn't think it's so funny, but that's how that's how it goes down. But been a lot of cool stuff going on lately, and one thing I want to talk about as you guys sort of funnel in here is one thing you'll see that you suffer with, or that devs suffer with a lot, is just telling people to fuck off. Obviously, you don't want to say it like that. You want to be a little bit more professional when you do that. But the general sentiment is, hey, I'm busy. Hey, I'm in the flow. Hey, I'm doing something right now. Hey, I'm solving something. Let me get back to you. And the unfortunate truth is a lot of people really suffer with that, and are afraid of being rude, are afraid of upsetting their teammates or even their family. I had one of my buddies, and my buddy today is pretty passive. Hey, can I get you to take a look at this? Yeah, let me get back to you. I'm finishing up a thought. Cool, no problem. Eric hit me up today, said, hey, and super excited, was like, hey man, hey man, what do you think about this, about my course? And we can do a video, and we can, you can do a shout out here and get a free course. And like, obviously clearly excited about his new course that he's releasing, and that's good. But and it's not like you're trying to shut somebody down, but in that exact moment, I was actually solving a very complex bug, and I was pretty close to it. And it's my fault for picking up my phone and being like, oh, what's going on? So I don't understand why people show up to people's live stream just to cause issues. Sorry, you just must have spammed it. Yo, Kronzy, 1 second here. Can you handle this, man? Congratulations, you are now a mod. Just ban the guy outright, would you? Diabetic Manatee here, another mod. Anyhow, so sometimes you have to Yo, what's going on, Casey? But so strange. Dude, that's what I was thinking. What is going on here? I can see you master the mash, yeah, man. So sorry, I got distracted by this very rude gentleman in chat. But we just got 2 new mods. Congratulations. But the point I was trying to make was it's okay to say it's persistent guy. It's okay to say, hey, I'm busy. Let me get back to you. It's not disrespectful. It's not one of those things. It's simply is a, because you have to remember, a lot of times people are asking for your time, or you may be asking for somebody else's. And so you want to help other people and you want to be helpful to your teammates, to your family, to your colleagues. But one thing a lot of people struggle with is just saying no, or not right now, or another time, or so on and so forth. So you need to learn how to do that. One second. I never heard devs talk about testing and stuff. Yeah, it's unfortunate. Best way to get started, unit testing is usually the easiest thing. So like unit testing, concept behind unit testing is you test what a method does in order, right? So let's say you have a public method that you're testing on a lifecycle hook. You simulate the lifecycle hook, and then by the end of it, maybe it should have updated, with a mock HTTP call. Maybe it should have then updated with, a property. Maybe it should have removed an item from an array. All that sort of stuff. So you go and test that. Okay. So in a recent software engineering interview, I was asked vague questions. Explain your workflow. How do you tackle a project assigned to you? I didn't even know how to answer any tips for questions like this. Yeah. So these are some pretty standard questions, right? So there are 2 different questions there. Explain your workflow. So typically for me, when I go and I tackle a project, the idea is this, all right? I have, if I was to explain my workflow, I first get a very large, a high level understanding of the objective, the feature. If I have any questions, I go back, and both those questions kind of related because of your workflow and how you tackle a project sort of intertwined. So one way that you can answer that is first I make sure I understand the project, because the requirements are never going to be perfect. And if there's any question as to what the direction should be, I should take 20, 30 minutes to figure it out before I spend 2 days building it, only to find out that it's wrong. The next thing I do is I look at what the data model is going to be. If it's the front end, there's still a data model that's going to be there, and I start thinking about how that's going to be interacting with the web page. While I'm doing this, I take typically a TDD approach, where I may be, I'll have my unit test running down below to make sure I don't break any additional functionality. I'll be writing tests as I go, right? Now, depending on the processes at work, we may do a PR, we may do some pair programming during the process, we may do some mob programming. I typically nowadays, working remote, I do some pairing over the internet. Oftentimes, if I Say, hey, I got a question. Hey, what do you think about this? Hey, blah, blah, blah. I hop into calls about 3-4 times a day for about 5 to 20 minutes at a time. So best way to learn TDD is just to do TDD. That's it. Take a project and then do it. But I don't know if that RxJS or promises. They don't have to be. So they don't have to be exclusive. ETA on the new Angular course. Nah, man. I've been so busy. So I've been really enjoying writing my book. So I started writing my book again. The Angular course is put on the back burner because I'm wrapping up the syllabus for my course for LinkedIn Learning, and I might have a mini course coming out on Scramble in the near future for Angular. What's your opinion on take-home projects in interviews? I feel like it's becoming way more common, unfortunately. So there's a lot of pros to take-home projects. So I know you're thinking, oh, man, I got to spend 4 hours on this project. Here is a major pro, is that oftentimes when you have your take-home project, you will be able to show your full skill set, and people will be able to see where you're at. Now, that's a very large pro because there's no circumstances under which you should fail a take-home project, unless you just don't have the skills. But there's no, there's less anxiety. There's no whiteboarding problem. So like for good junior developers, I think take-home projects are fantastic. Now, I think they are for junior developers. Any senior developer position that's asking you to take on project is asking too much typically. So when I was looking for my first couple roles, whenever I got a take-home project, I always got a job offer because it allowed me to go and showcase what I would actually do. And you'd be surprised how, if you could just show that you can do the job, how well you do the job, and so on and so forth. So I'm very pro take-home projects for junior level roles. For senior level roles, there's other ways that you can show your skill, and you just by having a conversation. Yeah, one thing about a take-home project is when you hand it in, I like to send a video, like a little 5-minute video saying, hey, this is what I did here and this is why for anything. As you can see in the services, I mapped the models and I give them default values to protect against it. Maybe in the package JSON, I added some scripts so that, we couldn't push it up without, the test passing, so on and so forth. I got an offer for a side project, $60 an hour for a Vue web app client. They already have API. Should I accept even though I already work 40, 50 hours a week? It's working 60, 70 hours a week bad. I mean, I've worked 60, 70 hour weeks, 60 hour weeks for about 5 years. So I don't know, I don't know what to tell you. So my sentiment is this: is work as many hours for as long as you can, as long as you're saving your money and investing, so that you say, hey, this project, maybe it's a month and you did 20 hours and you made $60 an hour. So you go and you make $5,000 or $8,000. Go and invest at $8,000. Don't go and spend on stupid stuff. If you're going to work extra, invest with that extra time. The second round interview will be a pair debugging interview. I've never had one of these before. How to prepare for this? So what's going to happen in this interview is essentially you're going to be sitting next to a senior dev and there's going to be a laptop, or it might be over the internet if it's not in person, right? But they're going to see your screen. They are going to have a portion of code. It's probably not going to be too complicated. Could be 3, maybe 4, maybe 6 files. Could be 1 file. and there's going to be some bugs. You're going to run it, it's not going to do what it's supposed to do. They're going to see how you debug it. Now, what's most important about this is making sure that you are very descriptive of what you're doing. You do not want to sit there quietly and debug. You want to narrate what it is you're doing. And you say, okay, all right, I see when we run it, nothing, we're not getting the expected result. I'm going to see if there's a test suite, run the test suite. Oh, there's no test suite. So this is really like a real production level application, it seems. Okay, cool. So we can't see if there's any failing tests. So let's look at the code in the vicinity that it's most likely to be in. I see it's a service that's, maybe I'm using the inspector. I see in the inspector we're actually getting a 404, so route not found. Let's go ahead and check our route to see what it should be. Is there a typo? What's going on? But you want to narrate what it is you're doing so that they can see that you're debugging, showcase that. That's really what it's there for. But that's typically how you will be successful. Does having access to a tech lead help me out? Mentor / job finding? Having access to a superior, a technical superior, definitely helps you out. I'm lucky enough to have a tech lead and a director who are both ex-Microsoft people, and they're both pretty brilliant. And so sometimes I bounce ideas off them. Some are good, some are bad. Sometimes, they'll leave me a little comment on my code and say, hey, what do you think about this? I'm like, genius. But generally speaking, having tech leads is a good thing to have. What is that thing that you're playing with? It's a cup holder for my desk. So unfortunately, basically what you do is you see this? You put it on a desk, and then all my mugs are too big. Sorry, I'm fidgeting, aren't I? I'm a big fidgeter. You work out? Yeah, although you know what I've been doing lately, son? You see the guns? I've been a lot. I've been doing the we call it the Nintendo Switch Ring Fit every day, man. I do 2 levels on that thing. I've been doing it every single day except one. Eventually, I get a little too sore, but it's been fun, man. I've been enjoying it. Stretching, the exercising, the running, the whole deal. Every single morning, I do it before work. But yeah, I do lift those in meetings. So sometimes, I usually have my camera on in meetings, but then I'll be like, okay, cool. I don't really have anything to contribute to this meeting, and I'll turn my camera off, and I'll just be here listening, lifting and whatnot. Sometimes I do jumping jacks. Yeah, I was thinking about buying a set of so Costco had a set of 200 pounds of dumbbells with a dumbbell rack for like $170. I was thinking about buying them for the house. The only reason I didn't is there's a good chance we're going to be buying a new house in the near future, and so sort of holding off. Put a power rack in my office. I actually have a full body like rack that you can do pull-ups, push-ups, dips, ab lifts. I'm not sure what you would call them, where you're sort of hanging there and then you lift your legs up. Just go to the gym. The problem with going to the gym is, one, it's a bad financial investment. So like from a practical standpoint, I have an almost 3,000 square foot home with just April and I in it. I can put a gym in my house and still have 2 to 3 extra bedrooms. So like I don't need the gym. I'd rather buy the equipment I want and then use it, because a lot of times you can get it for cheap on Craigslist, right? So like the gyms around here, the closest gym near me is about $40 a month. So you say, okay, it's $40 a month for April and myself. That's $960 a year. 4 years, we're looking at $4,000 almost. 3840. So in a 4-year time, we spent $3,840 on gym memberships, not to count if there's any sign up fees. And then we have to drive to the gym. A lot of why people don't go to the gym consistently is the travel involved to get to and from, right? If it's traffic, it might be 15 minutes. No traffic might be 10 minutes, all that sort of stuff. So I'd rather just put a gym in my house, which I pretty much have. We have a cycle machine downstairs that April uses all the time. Then we have some weights. Then we have the Ring Fit Adventure, which has been really good to keep me consistent. Yeah. I understand. I've had gym memberships. The thing is nowadays, I would rather build a back house and put a gym there if I had to. But I just don't. I don't like having monthly memberships. One of the reasons why is I'm very big on keeping my cost of living low. Right, I have no debt minus my mortgage, and I typically try to keep things low. I'm okay spending money to lower my cost of living. Right, so like one thing I would buy for this house that I'll buy in the next one is solar panels. Even though it's like, oh well, they kind of pay for themselves over time, right? I'd rather pay the 15 grand up front to lower my cost of living $100 a month. As long as it makes financial sense in the long term, right? And for a gym membership, for me, it's just another thing I have to pay for every month. Broad question, but what type of projects are typically assigned junior developers at mid-sized companies? It really depends on the organization. So it could be bugs. It could be back office like CRUD tools. That's pretty common. It could just be straight up features. Yeah, so this one has a pull-up bar. So dude, that I'm telling you though, man, that Ring Fit Adventure is beast. I'm having so much fun, and I've been doing it every day. It's about 30 minutes a day. So you start off with stretching, although I usually skip the first stretching section. Then I do 2 levels that are anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes a piece of time, but it's really more like 15 to 15 because you have battles in between. And then after that, you have some stretching at the end. I do the stretching at the end every time. I'm good, Caesar. The one thing that's for me that I'm struggling with is we are looking for a new home in the very near future. Like we're gonna put our home up for sale in April, and then hoping to have a place for May. So still deciding exactly where, what community, all that sort of stuff. But very excited about that. Yeah, and here's the thing: is if the option is not exercising and not having a gym in your house, because we all can't, right? Like I couldn't have a gym in my house up until recently. Then the options, the thing's pretty clear. You go and you get a gym membership because it's not the end of the world. It's not a financial devastation to spend, $22 or even $50 a month on a gym membership. So, but if the option's just not to do it, that's something that's different entirely. Hey, baby girl. Where's my little lady? My little lady. Come on. Oh, you missed the jump there. You missed the jump. Oh. Yeah, that's another thing that's pretty common is that they have like a small app that they want to rewrite for whatever reason. they'll start having you rewrite in a new technology. You show up so white on the screen, don't ya? But yeah, so that's another fairly common one. Pro tips for not procrastinating. Honestly, the only tips I have for you is defining your own office space in the sense of this is where I work and this is not where I play. Then you also get rid of all distractions. You get rid of your friends who are distracting you. You get rid of your family who's distracting you. You get rid of your game systems that are distracting you. You delete the games off your computer that are distracting you. What's your opinion of boot camps? So, am I a papa? God, I hope not. I'm not looking. The part of keeping my cost of living low is not having child support. So let's hope not. Let's hope no surprises. I don't want to have to explain that to April. So, what is my opinion of boot camp? So, I'm very pro boot camp. I think boot camps give you a lot of options, and they also teach you current skills. They teach you skills. They teach you skills that are in demand for jobs. I think boot camps are excellent. Now, what I will say about boot camps, the same thing I say about college, is that it's not for everybody, and even if you think it's a good system, there's always people looking for an easy meal ticket, right? So, like, if I would say the majority of people who go to boot camps are people who got shitty degrees, so they might have went and got a bachelor's and shit. And take English for instance. April's in a boot camp right now. She has a degree in English. She's struggled to get high-paying jobs in English, right? Thankfully, she doesn't have any student loans, but she goes to a boot camp to learn in-demand skills to go and work in the field. If you go with someone who has hey, you have no real job prospects. Can you hear me? I think my headset's dying. Sorry. On some degree, it sounds like a get-rich-quick scheme. So there's going to be people who are going to put in the time, effort, and energy and succeed, and there's going to be people who are just looking for an easy meal ticket. Not sure what happened there. I might have to charge this in a second if it cuts out. You know what's funny about a communications degree? Is the funniest thing about a communications degree is that oftentimes the number one soft skill asked for in any job is communication. So somehow a communication degree sucks, but the number one soft skill you need is communication. So it just shows you how undervalued that skill is. Now, it's a little bit of an oxymoron. But I'm one of those people that don't think. I'm one of those people that think more about hard skills than soft skills. And I think that's the trend the world is going in. And if you look at what jobs are paying well, right, and what have high demand, and what has, what's in demand, what's paying well, what's high in the job market, they're things that have technical skills. Nursing has technical skills, or government regulations, right? So all these things that you should be thinking about when you're going and looking about what direction you want your career to go into. But yeah, I'm very pro boot camp. And to the earlier question about how do you not procrastinate, a couple things is once you start finding success with your, so like it's a little harder when you're like, hey, you don't think about procrastinating, you just do, right? But once you find success and you eliminate some levels of stress by not procrastinating, all of a sudden you're much more motivated to do it right now, because you've already seen the success that it brings, right? Because what all procrastination is the natural feeling and the natural expectation of, I want now, I don't want later. That's all it is. I want immediate gratification, even if it's short-lived and even if the value isn't as great now, then a better value later. That's all it is. And once you've sort of had a taste of a better value, once you've said, hey, I'm going to hold off 6 months to make, I don't know, to go from making $15,000 as a pizza delivery driver to $150,000 as a software engineer, or I can just go home in those 6 months and play League of Legends, and that'll be fun and it'll be a lot less work. But 6 months from now, I'll be at $15,000 versus, doubling my income plus, right? And so once you've had some sort of taste of success and get that little bit of ooh baby, I like that sort of thing, you then start feeling like, hey, that's not that bad. Same thing with money. Same thing. People struggle with money all the time. People live paycheck to paycheck. Some of my closest family members have retired with no money in the bank, living paycheck to paycheck till 60 plus. Maybe it's because they didn't know anything was better. I, having seen this early on in my life, said I don't want to do that. So I save about 30, 40, 50% of my paychecks. And it's nice seeing a dollar make a dollar. But until you see it, it's a little like, pretty like I didn't know, like sort of hard, right? Did you say something in the past about how software YouTubers need morals? Can you explain that? Not necessarily software YouTubers in particular, although they would fall into that category. There are a lot of... So we live in this age of personal branding and digital marketing and drop shipping and selling and all this sort of shit, where a lot of times people are editing things in like the inspector to show better sales. So there seems to be, especially in tech, a lack of morality, a lack of, fake gurus is a perfect term for it, right? But in the tech field, whether we're talking about individuals or we're talking about organizations, there seems to be a bit of lack of morality. And one thing, not to generalize, that I've said in the past is that sometimes as engineers, we're a little less in tune with ourselves and we're a little more logical, where we can evaluate what a relationship is worth, right? We can evaluate financially. I'm not saying it's healthy, but you say, hey, I'm going to burn this bridge and I'm going to make probably 30K. Fuck that guy. Right? Like that is the decision that some of these people make, where it becomes all about the money. Like the money's the only thing. And I'm all for money. You guys hear me talk about money all the time. I'm all for making money. I'm all for being smart with your money. But I do think that you have people telling you, hey, you can learn to code in 3 weeks, or and not sort of premising that with like, oh, hey, that's just one person out of a million. Or, hey, here's this XYZ course that I completely plagiarized, and I happen to be an expert in the field. I'm plagiarizing people's content, stuff like that. There's a lot of this craziness going on out there. Do you recommend any channels with video software engineering interviews? God, not something I ever got into, other than like whiteboarding stuff. You could check out my 100 front-end interview questions challenge, which preps you for your front-end interviews. Helps you with all your interviews, JavaScript related. I'm wondering if I should make a JavaScript exclusive one. That course was hard to make, man. I'm glad I made it. And it's a lot of fun to make courses, but God, are they tiring. Yeah, after I do this course for LinkedIn and Scrimba, I think I'm going to take it easy for 2020. Is it hard to find freelance work as a developer? It's very easy to find freelance work if you want to work for peanuts. It's hard to find high-paying freelance work. It's easier to hit the gym when you're already feeling shredded. Listen, I'm always feeling shredded. It's just different levels of shred. Chris Hawks is recommending C# as the #1 language learned in 2020. Thoughts on this? It's not a bad suggestion. It'd be in one of my top 5. I'd probably throw JavaScript up above there. There's a guy that I'm a big fan of. Shout out to Chris Hawks, man. So like, if you've been watching the channel, I mention him whenever I think of him because I watch his videos and they inspire me a bit. But one thing I like about Chris is he gets it. You know what I mean? Like he said in his latest video, programming talk or talk like a programmer. I don't know what the hell. I don't remember the title of it. But he basically said that like a lot of people are not understanding that like the jumping jobs thing. Once you get to a certain salary point, isn't worth it. And like, yeah, you could leave for a 10% raise, or you could just stay where you're at, where you're happy, and you'll get that 10% raise in a year or two, right? But is C# good for a junior dev? So, generally speaking, I say C#. So C# is a fantastic language to learn if you're interested in building APIs, and you're willing to pick up .NET Core. And generally speaking, that's what you're going to be doing with C#, right? And I say this as someone who's done a very little amount of C# professionally and a couple courses outside of work. Nothing in detail. There's a good amount of C# .NET rules, but the thing that you have to watch out for with C# is that C# is one of those languages oftentimes taught exclusively in some computer science programs. So when you're looking at that and you say, okay, cool, there's a lot of C# grads, CS grads learning that you might have a little bit of a harder time being self-taught going against that route. Now, a benefit of being a C# dev is that oftentimes if you have the C#, they'll assume that you can pick up the JavaScript relatively easily. And you might get like a nice little full stack role. Generally speaking, I recommend people pick up JavaScript because I think there's more jobs in it. And I think until the average boot camp, which isn't everything, but just one. So boot camps succeed and fail based off word of mouth and hiring rates. And once their syllabus changes to something else, I would recommend something else on average, right? Thoughts on data science? Best field you can go into. Absolute best field you can go into. Data science, machine learning, AI. absolutely fantastic direction to go into. I don't know about the UK. All I can tell you that in the US, you look at the top 20 jobs, 10 of them, like the 7 out of the top 10 are dominated, absolutely dominated by data science related fields. And on top of that, you're getting starting salaries higher than developers, right? So like, it's not uncommon for starting salary of data science grad to be 6 figures, and it's not uncommon for you as a senior data scientist with 3 to 4 years experience to be getting $150,000 to $160,000 anywhere in the U.S. Can you become self-taught data science? Yes. Is it hard? Sure. It's all hard. Have you had to deal with stressful girlfriends or drama that detracts from your focus? I would say stressful girlfriend. So my girlfriend and I have been dating about 10 years now. In those 10 years, we have had 2 periods where we broke up for about 3 to 4 months apiece. Mainly, and this was years ago. The last time it happened was like 5 years ago. And it's sort of my fault. I was being a dick. And I was just miserable. And this is before I was working as a developer, and I was miserable to be around. So in that aspect, yes, from a relationship standpoint. But generally speaking, you want to have people around you who are supportive. So dealing with drama, you know what I do with drama? I cut people out of my life surgically with a scalpel. Cut out negativity from my life. If it's online, block and ban. Don't need cutting out negativity and drama from online is as easy as single or double click. So I do that. If there are friends that are going in different directions than myself, like, oh, hey, you guys are going out partying on the weekend, so I'm working on side projects, so that's not going to work. I have goals and dreams that are slightly different. No judgments, but this is what I'm trying to do. This is what you're trying to do. It doesn't align. So, you have to make those hard decisions. And when there's drama, just get rid of it. Shoo. I don't want drama in my life. From a more realistic standpoint, where April and I, we've been in Florida about 4 years now, and things have been going really great. And the hardest challenge is at times trying to get her to understand why I have to work so much outside of work. And I've actually cut it back significantly. And now that she's doing her boot camp, she's starting to get a little bit more. But sometimes you have to say, hey, you know what? We're not going on vacation for the next year and a half. We're not doing anything for the next year and a half. You know why? Because we put 3% down on the house, and I want to eliminate PMI in the first year. So we're just rice and beans, right? It's not fun, but sometimes you have to expect that. Yeah. Data science jobs require advanced degrees, so myth, absolute myth. No job requires an advanced degree that's not government binding. Is it going to be harder without an advanced degree? Sure. I saw something the other day that if you look at 20 that said, hey, I looked at the top 100 data science jobs, something like 40 of them required a PhD, 20 of them required a bachelor's, and then like 40 of them preferred a bachelor's, and 20 didn't say anything about your education. So. What languages do you learn for data science? Typically Python or R, I believe, but I'm not into the data science world, but that seems to be what people are diving into. That'd be my goal. Any courses that focus specifically on how to structure files in big projects? I would say it generally depends on what type of project. If it's an API, or if it's a front-end app, if it's an Android app, might be some different things. But generally speaking, there are a lot of different ways. Maybe I'll do a video about that, about how I organize my files. File structure for an Angular project. I beat out a candidate for my first current job simply because I have a degree in electrical engineering. That will happen. That will definitely happen. I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's not hard. One thing you'll never hear me say is it's going to be easy, or that you're not going to be. The word I like to use is discriminated against for not having a degree. Legally discriminated against for us degreeless folk, because that's what it is, discrimination. Because you don't have a college degree, so you can legally discriminate against somebody having a college degree versus not having one. Any thoughts about Django? No, sorry, man, not my wheelhouse. I like C# though. C# is very much like TypeScript. I love TypeScript. The thing about languages is after a couple years of writing code, it's all the same shit. Is Andrew Yang your boy? I don't want to talk about politics too much, but I'd say I'm pro Yang. I'm in the Yang gang, but it ain't gonna happen. So. What is going on with the Iowa Caucus stuff? Last I saw, their app. Dude, speaking of the technical aspects of the Iowa Caucus, their app apparently wasn't storing all the data it was supposed to. It's like, bro, how complex of an app could that be? Like, hey, here's some people to vote for. Here's some policies. Click, save. You know, I think happened, man. I think what happened is someone rushed this out. That's what they got. Someone put down the hammer and rushed it out. Do you think TypeScript is going? TypeScript is increasing popularity? Yeah, I think you can see TypeScript is increasing popularity. Do I think PHP is still relevant? No. In the sense of like, there are less modern PHP jobs. Is quality automation a lot different than software development? Yeah, you're going to be setting up scripts to run things. Cross-platform mobile app? I don't really have one. Other than, if you were to ask me, I'd probably just say do a PWA. It'll be the most flexible. We got a full theory here. Iowa rigged. Pete gave money to the app company. App company delayed results, and Pete claimed victory without winning. Gangster. But yeah, I don't. Last thing I'll say about politics is I don't really care. I tend not to care about things that affect me. People spend all this time worrying about presidential elections and stuff like that. They typically have little to no impact compared to their local politics. Why don't you go and see what county you move into, what their sales tax rate is, or what state's property tax is, or what the state tax rate is, if there is one. Go from there. All right, guys. I'm going to call it a day. I wish you all the best of luck, no matter what your politics are. I appreciate you. If you're interested in any of my courses, there are links in the description below. You can check them out. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.